Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever you hear this message, I pray that you are poised to receive, to accept, and most importantly, to respond to words of wisdom. Ashe. So yesterday, I shared a lesson with you around, and it wasn't really a lesson, it was just an inquiry that elicits a lesson, sets the stage for the lesson. The real lesson comes today. And the question I asked yesterday was, do African Americans have a culture? And I had to be very specific about culture. And I had to be very specific about culture because I come from the generation where we were talking about hip hop culture. Right? People talking about hip hop culture, which, is non-existent. There's no such thing as hip hop culture in an anthropological or sociological sense. We come from a time wherein everything has become relative. And in an effort to seem smart and, say things that sound interesting, we put all kinds of ideas and concepts into the environment as if they were real and they were legit. And then we talk about them on terms that, that they are real, but they're not. Hip hop culture, for example, is not a real thing. Yes, there are values. Yes, there are mores. Yes, there's a code of conduct within hip hop, but there's no prenatal care. There's no hip hop prenatal care. There's no special foods that you tell a pregnant woman to eat or special baths that she takes. Because she's a hip hop listener or a hip hop artist. There are no death rites. This is what you do when someone's on their deathbed in hip hop. There is no family structure. It says that because we listen to hip hop, then this is how we structure our that doesn't exist. That's culture. Right? That is culture. And so when I reframe culture in real terms, it presents a very real challenge for our people to come to grips with. Wait, who are we? And how am I operating? What are my assumptions about life? And what it means to be me. How am I determining what it means to be me? That's what I intend to elicit in you by posing this question. Do African Americans have a culture as defined by a language, dress, customs, traditions, rites of passage, et cetera, et cetera? And I was really impressed by a lot of the responses. And the lesson today that I want to present to you is the difference between culture and identity. Culture is not the same as identity. As an African American, what I have come to realize and appreciate is that, yes, we have a culture. Yes. Our language is English. Our religion is Christianity. Our style of dress is Western. Our theology, our philosophy, our worldview, all of those things are structurally Western, European in origin. And that culture creates the context for our reality. It shapes our perception. But that culture doesn't define our identity. Our identity is African, really African, Pan-African. A little Bamileke, a little Bakongo, a little Yoruba, a little Efik, a little Ewe, a little Baule. We're all of it. That's our identity. That's who we are. That's what we're made of, is African, right? But our culture is American, right? And so what we have done is, there was someone who made a comment on the YouTube video. I think he was Haitian, and he said it perfectly. We use European culture in an African way. I always say we have Africanized European culture. We've Africanized it to the max. We've Africanized the church to the fullest. We've Africanized the music. We've Africanized the food. We've Africanized everything that we have put our hands on in this country. Right? But in so doing, our frustration and our confusion has come from not becoming white. We're not, no matter how far we go in the sciences or in politics or the military or making money, it's not going to change our identity. And as long as the only tools that we're using to fulfill our identity are the white man's tools, we're never going to get a clear understanding of our identity. This is what W.E.B. Du Bois was trying to tell us with dual consciousness. Dual consciousness isn't like being bilingual. Dual consciousness is seeing yourself through the eyes of the oppressor. That's what dual consciousness is. It's using Western culture in an African way, but hoping to see yourself through that lens. You can't see yourself as whole, because everything that's built into the structure of Western society is meant to demean you as an African. It demeans African identity. It pathologizes African identity. So there's only so far you can go to redeem yourself in your own eyes if you're only using Western tools. Who is it that told us that the master's tools will never be used to dismantle his own house? It's true. It's true. And the reason why I'm saying this is because you've got to understand and appreciate that, so that you can put a limit on how you define yourself, or how you use Western tools to define yourself. You've got to put a limit on it. You got to stop. You got to set a boundary that says, at a certain point, who I am is 100% independent of who they are. 100% independent of how they see the world. Their values, their mores, their customs, their traditions, their goals, their aspirations don't have anything to do with me. I don't have to reconcile my thing with theirs. It doesn't have to be scientifically or philosophically congruent with anything that they say. That's their calendar. They got their own understanding of when things begin and end. It has nothing to do with me. That's theirs. I got my own. But in order to do that, you have to take stock of the fact that as an African American, your language is English. If the only way that you can conceptualize thought, the only way you can organize your thoughts is according to English, you're only going to come up with English conclusions. Our religion is Christianity. If the only thing that you can use to decipher the relationship between heaven and earth, between the seen and the unseen, between the living and the dead is Christian, then you're never going to be able to come up with conclusions of who your ancestors really are outside of the context and the parameters set by Christianity. You can't see the ancestors through Christianity. You can't. Therefore, you can't see yourself until you acknowledge, hey, the only tools I have to express myself and conceptualize myself are limited. They don't match my identity. Huge lesson, y'all. Huge. So yes, African Americans have a culture, but the culture is contradictory to our identity. The only culture that we know, the culture that we've warped and twisted and done everything that we could to make work for us, can only take us to the threshold. At a certain point, you got to let it go. You got to drop it right there, and you got to cross the border, and you got to enter into a different realm where you think like an African, where you see like an African. Really, truly, you rearrange and reorganize your whole thought process to accommodate the African logic. That's the only way you're going to be able to reassemble yourself from the inside out and from the bottom up. So, yes, African Americans have a culture, but the culture is foreign and the culture is contradictory to our identity. So if we want to restore the African mind, the next thing you need to do is just acknowledge the limitations of the tools that have been handed down to you. You don't have to go to another step beyond that. First and foremost, just come to grips with the fact that everything that you have in your arsenal, everything you have at your disposal is actually designed to work against you, and you have maximized it. You've done everything you can to Africanize those tools. It's time to let them go. It's time to let them go. And as always, this is a lesson that I'm sending out to the leaders. I'm looking for people who are really serious about improving the world through positive influence. If you're one of those people, then I want you to find out how Oloye Obafemi Origunwa and the Orisha Lifestyle Academy can help you take your practice and your life to the highest level possible. Visit me at obafemio.com or orishalifestyle.com. Get enrolled and let's start working together to help you live the medicine that will heal your life and heal the lives of those you're destined to serve. I look forward to working with you. Bye for now. Odabo.